It's easy to get stuck reaching for the same familiar fruits and vegetables, even when you know a colorful variety is key. Balance of Nature's fruits and veggie supplements don't replace fruits and vegetables, but it makes it easy to add more variety to what you already eat. With 31 ingredients that are whole fruits and vegetables, switching it up is easy because we've already taken care of the hard part. Go to balanceofnature.com and get a free fiber and spice supplement, plus 35% off your first set as a new preferred customer by using discount code POD.
If we knew more about our sleep, what would we do differently? Would we go to bed at a consistent time or take steps to reduce interruptions to our sleep? With the all-new Sleep Score, Apple Watch measures your bedtime consistency, interruptions, and sleep duration. Then, every morning it combines these factors into an easy-to-understand score from 1 to 100. So you'll know how to take the quality of your sleep from good to excellent. Introducing the new Sleep Score on Apple Watch. iPhone 11 or later required.
It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist T.J. McCormick.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's T.J. McCormick. It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
Oh my God. I'm back. I'm home. All the time. We finally really did it. You maniacs! You blew it up! Oh, damn you! God damn you all to hell!
Yep, that about sums it up. You really, really did it, didn't you, New York? Oh, man. I just can't even begin to put my head around the fact that Zohran Mamdani is going to be the next mayor of New York. Good luck with free busing. That's going to be awesome in the winter when a bunch of drug-addled homeless people are just living on it all day like one big heated camp. I'm sure the commuters in New York are really going to be happy about that. I mean, it's just a whole bowl of wrong. I get that Cuomo was not a good candidate. And even when you look back at the data now, it's interesting because, for starters, Zohran Mamdani, his coalition, isn't working class voters. Not even close. All right, this is not Bill Clinton. This is not John F. Kennedy. This is not your daddy's donkeys. This was basically, let's see, college-educated young people, 57% with advanced degrees went to Zohran Mamdani. Give back your degree, especially if you're an econ major, all right, because this is how this is going to work. He's going to raise individual taxes and on businesses. Guess where those businesses are going to go? I'll say this till I'm blue in the face. 3 states. You want to name them? Texas, Tennessee, Florida. Why? They don't have income taxes there. State income taxes. Why wouldn't you go there? I'm doing this show from my basement right now. I could work from anywhere. I joined Will Cain's show on Fox 2 weeks ago from a gas station off a highway in Florida. They just sent a van and they popped me in. And if they didn't send a van, I could have gone through my phone from my car. You could work from anywhere, basically, if you're a white collar type of guy who makes a lot of money, let's say in the stock market, for example. Oh, I got to work near Wall Street. No, you don't, because Dallas is opening a stock market in Dallas. Miami, same thing. It doesn't matter anymore. This guy is going to drive whatever remaining tax revenue is out of this city. It's that simple. Once again, I cannot get my head around this. I swear my hair hurts right now that smart people apparently elected this guy. But it's young, smart people, I guess. You ever hear this stat? NBC News poll. 44% of young people say that they have been diagnosed with a medical mental condition where they need prescriptions. 44%? Nearly half? Did something change in the water? That's an unbelievable stat to me. 66% believe they do have a mental disorder. What? From what? What war did you fight in? Seriously. All right? This isn't the greatest generation. Not World War II. Not Vietnam. Oh, And by the way, more people now between the ages of 18 and 29, guess how many live with their parents between 18 and 29? You want that number too? 45%. Nearly half haven't moved out of their parents' homes. What do you do with your college degree? So, of course, they'll vote for Mamdani because any sort of pain that he inflicts on the average family, mommy and daddy are going to have to absorb that while they're sipping their latte and they're locked in their phones with their worthless degrees. I can't even begin to get over that. 80% of women voted for Zohran Mamdani. I mean, it's just amazing that I just don't get it. Do you know in Sharia law how women are treated? Because Mamdani supports that. So you want to go there? Roll the dice and take your chances. I just, unbelievable. And now this guy, during his acceptance speech, says he hopes he never has to utter the name of Andrew Cuomo again. I think Cuomo's a scumbag also, just like you. But I don't know, wasn't there civility at some point in this world where you would thank your opponent and say you ran a good race and good luck? No. He says, I hope I never have to utter his name again. Then the next day, he goes out and does a campaign ad saying, please send me more money to pay for my transition team. This is how this is going to work. All right. That act, the smiling socialist, oh, that's long gone. Believe me. All he did was, during his acceptance speech, talk about Islamophobia. And I cannot get over what just happened on Tuesday. But I guess I'm not surprised because that's the way things are going now in this country at this point. Democrats are embracing the socialism brand, and this will bury them, believe me, in national elections. What you can get away with in New York or Seattle, Minneapolis, you cannot get away with in national elections in the swing states that matter. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Tunnel to Tower Foundation's Sunday morning show. Senator John Kennedy, Piers Morgan, coming up next.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. All night long, this is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack, 77 WABC. This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack. It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
And welcome back, everybody. All right, let's bring in a man that I've wanted to talk to for a while because we seem to be on television at the same time without being the same time. So whenever we do, say, Sean Hannity's show, for example, or Jesse Waters, Senator Kennedy always is on before me. And then afterwards, I got to follow up him, which is quite very, very difficult. It's kind of like going on after the Beatles, and you don't want to be that guy who goes on after the Beatles. So let us bring in Senator John Kennedy, Republican, Louisiana. He is a senator, but he is trying to rise above it, to quote the senator himself. Senator, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Oh, Joe, thank you for having me, man. Folks, y'all listen to Joe's show like I do. He's a wise man.
Wow.
But I really appreciate you having me, man.
That's the promo that I want to hear. And the book, which has shot up to the top of the New York Times bestseller list, How to Test Negative for Stupid and Why Washington Never Will. So this came out last month, Senator, obviously doing quite well. And it's the type of thing where the reason why I think people like to book you so much is because you understand that not everything has to be angry and loud and divisive like we see from so many Democrats these days. You have a wit to you. How do you come up with these? I think Sean asked you this once, but for my radio listeners, I need to know. How do you come up with all these tremendous quips just with a deadpan kind of Johnny Carson delivery? Were you in comedy at one point? Where does it come from?
Well, I'm in comedy. I'm in the United States Senate.
See.
But look, I don't know, Joe. God gave me a deeply weird brain. Some of it just comes to me. Some of it, God gave me a really good memory, and I could read something a couple of years ago, a clever turn of phrase that you used, and I'll just remember it. Sometimes when I read something that's really striking, I have a little window on my iPad that I'll write it down to remember later. But I don't know. I've just always kind of been like this. I have the right to remain silent, but not the ability.
Let's play for the folks at home exactly what we're talking about. This is cut 2 here, and this is one of my favorites. Cut 2, Elias, go.
Everybody in Washington now seems to be an economist, and some of them just don't know what they're talking about. Taking their advice is like taking the advice of a nun about sex.
Do your colleagues come up to you afterwards and say, I saw that line, can I borrow it?
No, some of them came up to me and said, Kennedy, God's going to punish you. You're going to get in trouble one day. And I tell them, look, God understands. I think I've kind of desensitized folks. I tried to write a book, Joe. It's not a policy book per se. It's a story book, and I use stories to talk about policy. And some of the stories are funny. Some of them are really bizarre, but they're all true. Every single one of them, somebody's phone's going off. That's probably mine. Every single one of them's true. And I wrote the book for 3 reasons. I wanted to explain to my people what the Senate's really like from the inside. I wanted to try to explain why in Washington, D.C., normal is just a setting on the clothes dryer, and try to explain to folks why it doesn't have to be that way if we use a little common sense. And I hope the book makes people think. It'll might make them laugh, may make you day drink, man, but it's all true.
I like the epilogue, and we're talking to Senator John Kennedy. The book is a great one. It is called How to Test Negative for Stupid and Why Washington Never Will. And you go through basically, personal responsibility in the same way that, a very famous Democrat, probably the most popular Democratic president of all time, John Kennedy, the other John Kennedy, President John Kennedy once said. In the epilogue, you said, I believe in personal responsibility, the rule of law, equal opportunity, merit, respect for human dignity, and faith in the human progress. I don't see why that would be bipartisan. And yet we see this government shutdown, which is now getting to a dangerous point. Like we could laugh about it for the first couple of weeks because not a lot of people felt it. I shouldn't say laugh about it, but most Americans didn't feel it, and therefore it wasn't the big story that we saw on cable news. Now we're seeing that 10% of flights will be basically canceled in major airports across the country because they simply don't have enough air traffic control workers. Obviously, SNAP benefits, that's a problem as well. And yet Democrats will not come to the table. Do you believe that there are 5 moderate Democrats out there, pragmatic ones, old school Democrats that'll finally say, okay, let's end this government shutdown. Republicans keep voting over and over again to end it, and we'll negotiate afterwards. Do you think there's enough common sense folks out here to do that?
I think there at least 5, if not more, Democrats who believe that. I just don't know if they have the courage to do anything about it. Every shutdown, as you know, Joe, is different. This one is almost purely political. And it has to do with my Democratic colleagues, led by Senator Schumer, their fear of the, whatever you want to call it, socialist wing, loon wing, Gary Busey wing, angry wing of the Democratic Party, which is obviously in control. And Chuck's not the leader of the Democratic Party. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez is. They just elected a socialist, a mayor of New York. And that's really what's driving this shutdown. That people are just scared of the loon wing of their party, which will destroy them if they allow it to. But that's where we are. I hope the shutdown. A lot of people have been hurt with this shutdown. It breaks my heart. We got a lot of people in this country that live paycheck to paycheck, and I've got staffers that haven't been paid. I'm moving on a bill this week on the Senate floor to stop all members of Congress from getting paid their salary. It's probably not going to pass, but I'm sure as hell going to try. I held off doing it because I thought the shutdown was going to end. But when it's a political shutdown and not a policy-driven shutdown, it makes it that much harder. But it's clearly a multiple vehicle pileup. I mean, it's a goat rodeo, man. You ought to, as bad as it looks from the outside, you ought to see it from the inside on the Senate floor.
It must be infinitely worse. And we're talking to Senator John Kennedy. The book is How to Test Negative for Stupid. You mentioned that AOC is now probably the leader of the Democrat Party. I mean, let's face it. She supported wholeheartedly Zohran Mamdani, who just won in New York. This is the same person who said that there is no problem that is too big that government cannot solve. The same person just a couple of years ago called the NYPD racist and homophobic, and obviously he wants to push for free everything. He's the Oprah of candidates. You get free childcare, you get free buses, which would become homeless encampments. I live right near New York. It is a scary time, certainly. But here was your line about AOC as far as her let's see, IQ. This is cut number 3. Go.
I consider Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez to be the leader of the Democratic Party. I think she's the reason there are directions on a shampoo bottle.
Yeah. So can you see her, Senator, being the Democratic nominee in 2028? In other words, it's one thing to be the person who's really active on TikTok, and it's almost as if you're getting paid by the word on social media. It's something else altogether to be the nominee for the Democratic Party, because while what she says may sell in New York or Chicago or Seattle, in those swing states, those crucial ones like Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, that stuff's not going to fly. Well, Joe, I'm gonna emphasize this first. Look, I don't hate anybody. When I say my prayers, I really do. I ask God, don't let me hate. And I don't hate the Congresswoman. She's entitled to her opinion. But her problem is that with the Congresswoman, if you scratch the surface, you just get more surface. I mean, these are all platitudes. Just like the new mayor in New York, free buses. Who's not for that? Free child care, free food, free sex, free kittens, free everything. It's been my experience that anything that's free, somebody had to work for. Now, but it sells with the loon winger party, and there's no sense bubble wrapping it. She's in the ascendancy. She's in charge. I think the Congresswoman will be if the Democrats continue to move to the left like they are, she'll either overthrow
Hakeem Jeffries and be Speaker of the House. She'll run against Chuck Schumer, or she'll run for president. And we'll just see how big her ego is. But then in any of those three jobs, though, she's going to have to explain in detail why socialism is a better economic, social, and moral model for society than freedom, personal responsibility, and free enterprise. And I think anybody debating her will be able to eat her like a light snack when she has to defend her positions.
Yeah, she'll be out of her comfort zone of an MSNBC or your average podcast.
I mean, she's always in front of friendly audiences, friendly media. They love her, and she is a very good candidate on TV. But she's light as popcorn.
Yes, or as I like to say, and I coined this one, and you could borrow it, right? She's all foam and no beer. All right, that is an old fraternity.
I like it, man. It's like being all salt and no tequila.
Oh, see, that's even better. It's all steak and no sizzle. It's all. I'm running out of analogies, so I'm going to leave it here because we only have 30 seconds. It's
all Henry and no Kissinger. We can go forever, man.
You could go forever. I think I've already lost. So I just want to. We only have about 30 seconds, and TV, radio, so I'm sure you can condense this into an elevator pitch. What's the one thing you think that people are going to take away from your book, How to Test Negative for Stupid, that they didn't know about you or the process before?
I hope it makes them think. I hope it makes them understand Washington better, and I hope it makes them understand why it doesn't have to be this way. But I also hope it makes them understand water in Washington, D.C. is not going to clear up until we get the pigs out of the creek.
And he did that in 18 seconds. I was timing that. Senator John Kennedy, Republican, Louisiana. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm glad we could finally have a conversation one-on-one, and please, let's do it again sometime. You're a total rock star, man. Thank you. Wow. See, that's the highest praise. Anybody can say that to me, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Senator Kennedy says that to me, and I don't know. I'm getting little hairs on the back of my neck standing up, so I'm a fan. What can I say? Anyway, this is the Joe Concha, Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Back with more in just a moment.
It's Another Side of Midnight, 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormick.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack. It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
All right, let's bring in our VIP guest. That is Piers Morgan, of course, and he already has a bestseller out again. It's kind of a thing with Piers. He writes books. People buy them because he's an interesting cat who is not predictable. That's the whole key in this business. Don't tell people what they want to hear. Tell them what they should hear, and that's the Piers Morgan mantra. At least I just created one for him. Perhaps he can borrow it anytime. That's fine. And woke is dead. How common sense triumphed in an age of total madness. He's also host of Piers Morgan Uncensored. Piers, how are you?
That might be the best intro I've ever had, Joe. Thank you very much.
Well, I got your Venmo, so, we had a thing before. No, I'm kidding. It's all good. No, I seriously believe that, and that's why I always bother your people to come on my shows as much as possible, because I watch you on the 5. Uncensored is awesome because you get so many different guests, and particularly the Harry Sisson. Those appearances are always like must-see TV, and I think you just call it fair game. So there you go. So tell us about the book, because woke apparently may be alive after these elections, even though I don't believe that at all. When you win in blue states in the deepest blue city, I don't believe that means that woke is alive. I just think that they held serve, to quote, a tennis kind of term, as far as winning in blue states that they should have won in. But anyway, tell us about the book and common sense triumphing. Is that surrounding the Trump victory in 2024? That's spearheaded that, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think that was the kind of moment where wokeism just got the biggest repudiation possible. For Donald Trump to be out of office for 4 years after all the over-hysterical screaming about him during his first term, led by the woke brigade, as I call them, with all their ludicrous sort of fact-denying, virtue-signaling nonsense. America had 4 years to think about what life would be like in a woke world under Joe Biden and then potentially Kamala Harris. And they went, you know what, we're not having this. We're going to vote for the guy who, whether you like him or not, whether you like the way he talks, the rhetoric and so on, actually his core of common sense is the kind of antithesis of wokeism. And whether it's, trans athletes in women's sport or whatever the issue may be, I think most Americans are filled with the same sense of common sense. They don't skew to this woke worldview. And so I think that Trump's re-election was the beginning of the end of wokeism. It's not completely dead yet. I made that point in the book. I think it's on life support and dying very quickly. And in fact, there's an interesting report out today in England by a very eminent body at the King's College in London into culture wars. And it says that not only are attitudes towards transgender rights hardening because of the damage it's done to women's rights, but there's a growing rejection of the whole concept of woke. And 48% of the British people now consider it to be an insult, compared with 24% in 2020. So you can see there that I think public attitudes towards wokeism and their tolerance of it are collapsing.
And we're talking to Piers Morgan, and I wanted to get your thoughts on Zohran Mamdani winning in New York, because obviously living in England, London has a Muslim mayor as well, and we're seeing the results. I saw a soccer match just a couple of days ago where there were massive protests outside, Palestinian protests, even though there's a peace deal in place, but fine. It just seems like London is a very much different town. I was in Paris actually in September with my family, and my wife noted that, boy, this is a much different city than it was the last time we came here back in 2010. London, I would imagine, is the same way. I just want to get your thoughts as far as, like, will New York now become London in terms of the Muslim influence just being so overwhelming that you don't recognize the city anymore?
Well, I don't think London's as bad as people are portraying. I live in London a lot of the year, and I don't recognise these sort of more apocalyptic descriptions of it. Okay. And it's interesting, the comparisons with Sadiq Khan, the London mayor, really, other than the fact he's Muslim and skews left, actually, I'd say Mamdani is far more worrying for New Yorkers than Sadiq Khan has been in London, because Sadiq Khan is actually a reasonably establishment figure in the Labour Party, whereas Mamdani seems to me to be very progressive, woke left. And I think there is a distinction between the two things. Where you're going to see the similar attitude issues, I think, are that, we've had a lot of very anti-Israel marches through London, and there's been a lot of criticism that Sadiq Khan, a Muslim mayor, has not done enough to control them. And particularly, as many of the people in the protests have been openly supporting Hamas or Hamas rhetoric, and I think people have been very angered by that. There's been rising crime in London now for many years under Sadiq Khan, knife crime in our case, but you do worry under a Mamdani in New York, given his publicly stated views about the NYPD, what's going to happen there and what will happen to crime. But ultimately, the reason I say that New Yorkers probably have more to worry about is that Sadiq Khan is not really what I would call a socialist, whereas Mamdani is a brazen, self-boasting socialist, and New York's not seen one of those. The nearest we've had as a mayor of London was actually a guy called Ken Livingstone in the first 8 years of this century, who was known as Red Ken. He was a proper socialist. And I think the Mamdani, the problem, as all socialists find, is they talk a great game. They tell you all these free things they're going to give you, and then the reality check comes very quickly when they have to pay for it, and they can't. And so inevitably, what they end up doing is taxing the hell out of everybody who's got any money. And I fear that's what's going to happen in New York.
Yeah, I think it was Margaret Thatcher who said the problem with socialism is that you eventually run out of other people's money, right? that's how it's going to work. Yes. And by the way, as far as I can tell, I mean, Zohran Mamdani, he was an assemblyman. He still is. He will be until January 1st, until he gets sworn in. He missed half the votes, but I can't find a real job anywhere on his resume. How does New York elect somebody with that? I get that you want a new face, but zero experience. I mean, Donald Trump had zero experience in politics, but at least he ran successful businesses. That's the case with Zohran. What do you think New Yorkers are thinking? They just starve for change at this point, where they'll drink the sand once they run out of the water?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of angry young people who rightly feel that things like rentals, for example, have become completely unaffordable. Again, parallel with London, it's almost impossible for young people to rent. I've got 3 sons trying to get on that a rental ladder. It's very, very difficult if they're going to use their own money to do it. A lot of them turning to parents for support and friends and so on. That was never the case when I was their age. So I think there's a real issue about affordability, and that's definitely resonated, I think, in why Mandani got so many young people voting for him. But I also think they're just voting because he's very charismatic, he's dynamic, he's a very skilled politician for someone with so little experience. But you're right, he's never run, as we would say in London, in the East End, he's never run a jelly deal stall. In other words, he's not even sold jelly deal. And you do wonder about somebody now running New York, one of the great cities of the world, the biggest city in America, who's got zero professional experience of running anything, not even a bathroom I can make out. So let's see what happens. But I do not believe for a moment he's going to be able to deliver on what he's promised. Now, is he such a canny politician that he very quickly, now he's got power, segues to the middle? We'll see. I wouldn't hold your breath.
No, I'm not holding my breath in any way, shape, or form. And by the way, he never even has run a bath. I used that on Fox once, and then a producer got in my ear afterwards and goes, "That's a great line. Where'd you get it from?" I'm like, I know I heard it somewhere. Now I know where I heard it. Piers Morgan said that. He's never even run a bath, so I'm giving you attribution next time. No question. Woke is Dead is the book. We only get about 2 minutes, so I want to get to a much more serious topic here, Piers, and that is you get the best interviews on your show, and my daughter is a huge soccer player, plays club here in the United States. She just turned 12 years old and plays in San Diego, 3,000 miles away from us sometimes because her team is so good. And they may be going to London next year, actually. But you asked the question that everybody wants to know. Who is better looking, Ronaldo or Messi? And you had Ronaldo on your show. You've talked to him several times. What was his answer exactly on that one?
Oh, he said that he is. He said that Beckham has a case to say
Beckham,
that.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Ronaldo, it was Ronaldo and Beckham, and Ronaldo said that Beckham may have a prettier face, although he even questioned that. He said, but from the neck down, in terms of the sort of physique of the two men, he said, if we were both walking along the Copacabana beach in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, and we weren't famous. And I said, which one of you would get more attention? He went, absolutely me. He said, Beckham is good, he said, but I am, and he paused and smiled, I am perfecto.
Wow. He needs to work on his confidence, this guy. I mean, that's incredible. And by the way,
if you want to be the biggest goal scorer in the history of football, then you need that kind of ego, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, let me ask you just in 15 seconds, who is better, Ronaldo or Messi, ultimately, when we look back on the two? I lean towards Messi because I think he sets up people a little bit better, but you tell me.
I think Ronaldo, mainly because Ronaldo has done it in so many different countries. I mean, he started in Portugal, then he went to England. He won a number of major trophies there, the European Champions League, the Premier League. He then went to Spain with Real Madrid. He won the Champions League many more times. He won the La Liga, the top league there, many times with Real Madrid. Then he went to Italy to challenge himself again at Juventus. He won the league again. He's just been an extraordinary success wherever he's gone. He came back to the UK. For Manchester United again, he scored another 26 goals, I think, that season. And now he's gone to Saudi Arabia, where he's transforming the whole country. And I just look at it in the totality and think he's done it in more places than Messi. So for me, he gets the edge.
See, you just changed my mind. That's incredible. He's the Tom Brady of football. Sorry, I always insult the English whenever I say it that way. But Piers, I know you got to go. I got to go as well. The book is Woke is Dead, already a bestseller. What else do we expect from Piers Morgan? Every book he writes is a bestseller, and he's also the host of Piers Morgan Uncensored. You have to watch that wherever you can watch that. It's all over the YouTube and all over Twitter, for that matter. So, Piers, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Joe, take care. All the very best.
You too. Cheers. And that was Piers Morgan, and he is awesome. And this is the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Back with more in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. All night long, this is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack, 77 WABC. This This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack. It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
All right, everybody, welcome back. I got to get this off my chest because something weird happened in this election here in New Jersey. All right, and I'm not drawing any conclusions. I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm just giving you the math here. All right, and then you draw your own conclusion. Dover, New Jersey, okay, which is out West Jersey. You know, you got to take Route 80 out there. I'm not saying it's kind of near the Pennsylvania border. Okay, so in 2024, Kamala Harris carried that town by 13 points. In this last election, Mikey Sherrill carried it by 39 points. So in an election with Trump on the ballot, Mikey Sherrill outperformed the Democratic nominee for president by 26 points. Anybody want to explain that one? Because I can't. All right, let's go to another example. Let's go to Garfield, New Jersey. All right. The mayor there switched parties to endorse Jack Ciattarelli. In 2024, Trump carried Garfield by 8 points. In this election, however, Mikey Sherrill carried it by 21, a 29-point swing to Mikey Sherrill. Quite the uninspiring candidate with a ton of baggage, made a ton of money, $7 million in the stock market, got banned from her Naval Academy graduation for a cheating scandal. Just East Coast Kamala. And you're telling me that she flipped that by 29 points? That's a bit weird, don't we think? All right, let's go to Belleville, New Jersey, where I was born, Claremont Hospital. It's a 50-50 town. It's working class. It's you want to tell me it's slightly blue, fine. But here, the mayor endorsed Jack Ciattarelli. And in 2024, Kamala Harris carried it by just 4 points. In 2025, Mikey Sherrill by 26. 22 points to Mikey Sherrill. Those are 3 examples. I have other towns, but we got finite time here. The point is that these numbers don't make any sense. You can't have these type of swings in an off-year election with, again, a candidate who wasn't exactly Margaret Thatcher, all right, and Mikey Sherrill. And Jack Ciattarelli ran a damn good campaign. And you could say, well, people didn't turn out. Well, actually, when you compare Jack Ciattarelli's numbers in 2021 to 2025, he got 125,000 more votes in this election than he did 4 years ago. So Jack did his job. And with those 125,000 votes, if he had those in the last election, he would have been governor in 2021. That would have been good enough to beat Phil Murphy. But now Mikey Sherrill somehow found more than 400,000 votes more than Phil Murphy. Anybody want to explain this? Because it doesn't make any sense. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there for you to chew on. Anyway, let's go to some of our sound bites because they are so good. And I appreciate my producer, Elias, for putting up with me all week when I'm sending him all these, we got to do this, we got to do that. And he just bangs them out, man. Actually, he's reelected mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Fry. Let's listen to his victory speech, shall we? Cut, whatever, go.
Assalamu alaikum.
What?
Hamid wal Aksan. Maaga yega wa Yaroub Farid.
What the hell? No. All right, so for all of you who speak Somalian out there, he did that speech literally in Somalian because Minneapolis, I guess, that's a big part of the coalition, just like Zara Mandani in New York, as far as people who have only lived in New York for less than 5 years. 68% of voters went to Mamdani, and that's what we're hearing out of Minneapolis. Now, here's Stephen Colbert talking about how he is more conservative than people think. Yeah, the guy who hasn't had a Republican on, a conservative, any real one anyway, in years on his activist Democrat talk show, yeah, he's actually kind of a conservative. This is Cut 7, go.
And, the demographics of these shows are interesting, too. It's about a third. It's about a third Republicans, third Democrats, third Independents. Old, people perceive me as this sort of lefty figure. I think I'm more conservative than people think.
Oh, gee, you have a funny way of showing it. You only wish Donald Trump dead, literally on your own show. I mean, that's just unbelievable that Colbert would actually make that claim that he's more conservative than anybody thinks. Watch that show for 3 minutes. Trust me, it ain't happening. And then here's Colbert telling you that actually he's in existence on CBS, at least until May, until the show goes off the air, because he's losing $40 million a year because of poor ratings. He's actually the guy who is here to tell you how to think and how to really absorb the news. This is Cut 9, go.
We're like your friend who, at the end of the day, paid attention to the news more than you did. And you're aware of it. You just didn't do the detail work that we did. And then we curate that back to you at the end of the day. But it's really more about how we feel about it, or I, as the person who is the vehicle for that, how we felt about today.
It's just unbelievable, the hubris of the defeated. And that is Stephen Colbert. Now, you got to listen to this, going back to our previous conversation of sorts. This is going to be Cut 10, and this is a guy who is begging in Queens to show his ID because he's worried that, there could be voter fraud going on because I could be anybody. And they push back saying, we're not supposed to ask you for your ID. What country do we live in? Show the ID. I want to get on a plane. I need a real ID. I want to buy some Maker's Mark, a little bourbon. I got to show an ID. Yes, I look that young still. They still double-proof me. True story. Anyway, this is Cut 10, and this is unbelievable that this guy had to go through this as far as begging people at this voting booth to show them his ID, and they keep refusing. Cut 10, go.
So you don't want my ID? How do you know it's me then?
We can look it up by manual.
I could just give you a fake name.
We can give you a by manual.
Signature, we check signatures.
Yeah, you're not,
so if you don't check,
you're not supposed to give your ID.
If you don't check ID, how are you going to know this is our signature?
Manual entry. No worries.
We have the signature on file.
Yeah.
Oh,
show him when he signs.
First 3 letters of your last name?
You got it, right?
First 3 letters of your last name?
Yeah. I gave you my ID. Why don't you use it?
Just first 3 letters of your last name, sir.
You guys making this difficult.
We're not making things out of law.
Is he giving you his ID to look at?
Yeah, I gave it to him.
Okay,
so you can
give it
use
to him.
So you
Give
can
it.
use
We're
it.
not supposed to ask.
We're not supposed
But
to
I'm giving it
ask.
to
I
you
know.
so that it's easy
You're
for you to.
absolutely right. You're absolutely
Because
right.
I could be somebody who's just pretending to be somebody.
You're absolutely right.
I don't think you want me to pretend.
We're not supposed to ask.
It
We're not
doesn't
supposed
matter.
to ask for identification.
How do you know it's the right person?
We have a signature on file.
A signature on file. You know what I do when I'm asked for a signature when I'm ever at the pharmacy, I'm signing out a prescription, or at a restaurant? I put a big X on there because no one checks the signatures. You think that 2 million people vote in New York City and people are checking signatures? Oh, yeah, they're going through every single one. They're trying to match them up. They don't do that. And this was a black guy in Queens begging them, please look at my ID. I could be somebody else. No, but there's no voter fraud. It's the most fair, clean election of our lifetimes. We've been told that before. Anyway, this was my reaction, by the way, to Zara Memdani winning on Tuesday night. And basically, I channeled Charlton Heston. I sound just like him, actually. Let's play cut 8. Go.
Oh my God. I'm back. I'm home. All the time it was. We finally really did it.
You did it, didn't you, New York?
You maniac!
Exactly.
You blew it up!
You did?
Oh, damn you!
Damn you!
God! Damn you all to hell!
The Statue of Liberty isn't quite in the sand yet, but it's heading there. It's a great job, New York. Really appreciate all your efforts there, electing a communist, pro-jihadi, anti-Semite as the next mayor of the financial capital of the world. Awesome job. Bang up. I'm doing a golf clap. There's a golf clap. There we go. Anyway, thanks everybody for joining today on the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. We're back again at 11 a.m. Thanks to Piers Morgan, Senator John Kennedy. I get the best guest, don't I? It's Joe Concha. I'll see you when I see you. Bye-bye.
It's another side of midnight. 77 WABC.
It's easy to get stuck reaching for the same familiar fruits and vegetables, even when you know a colorful variety is key. Balance of Nature's fruits and veggie supplements don't replace fruits and vegetables, but it makes it easy to add more variety to what you already eat. With 31 ingredients that are whole fruits and vegetables, switching it up is easy because we've already taken care of the hard part. Go to balanceofnature.com and get a free fiber and spice supplement, plus 35% off your first set as a new preferred customer by using discount code POD.